Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Chris Clark. I am part of the New Jersey Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club. We are a chapter in the National Association of Buffalo Soldiers and Troopers Motorcycle Club. It is roughly 120 chapters in the United States, with one chapter actually in South Korea. We are one of 4 chapters in New Jersey. We are the first chapter in New Jersey. We have been in New Jersey since about 1999. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and part of our mission statement is to go around, we do community service, and we introduce people to the Buffalo Soldier history. Now, I'm going to have one of our retired members, Dwight BMO Baltimore, come in and talk about the Buffalo Soldiers. Now, most people think that the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, when actually the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, only freed the slaves that were in the states fighting against the Union. It didn't free all the slaves. Now, there were 5 states that bordered the Union, that joined the Union, which was Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, the part that is now West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. They actually got to keep their slaves. It wasn't until the 13th Amendment in 1865 that freed all the slaves that everybody was free. Now, after that, in July of 1866, Congress enacted the Buffalo Soldiers, which is an all African-American unit. There were 6 units of the Buffalo Soldiers. The 9th and the 10th, which were Cavalry, the 38th, 39th, 40th, and 41st, which were infantry. Later, the infantry combined into 2 infantries, which was the 24th and the 25th. So at this point, I'm going to ask BMO to come in and join us and talk about the Buffalo Soldiers, give a brief history on all the different aspects that the Buffalo Soldiers helped out in not black history, but in American history. BMO?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Kroc Center for inviting us out to share this history, and hope that you all can leave with something to remember and you can share with your family and friends. My presentation starts with 3 things. I start with the buffalo, the American Indian, which we say Native American, and the Buffalo Soldier. As KC said, in 1866, the war is over. They've got all these black soldiers that fought in the Civil War, and at this time, at peacetime, they decided to reconstruct the armed forces. And like Casey said, we had 6 regiments that were formed, and our first soldiers, the 10th Cavalry, which we represent. Cavalry means horse soldiers. Our motorcycles represent our horse, and this is how we represent our soldiers from 1866. Our first came to part at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. The 10th Cavalry was there. When they arrived, the commander of the fort said, "There will be no mokes on my post." A moke is the same thing as the N-word at that time. And at that time, they put us all in the swamp with rodent-infested shacks, all poor conditions. But we adhered to it. At this time right now, we have a wonderful statue for the Buffalo Soldier at Fort Leavenworth, and if you get a chance, check it out. Now, 1866. We've won the Civil War, we're free. Our black men have the chance to become men. All they wanted was some respect. So they let them come into the United States Army. For $13 a month, 2 days off, this is what they got. Used issued clothes, which they had to pay for. Used horses, used saddles. But whatever mission we were sent out on, we endured. Now, you all know about the Pony Express. Pony Express only lasted 17 months. Buffalo Soldiers lasted 30 years. We had part in running the railroads. We had part in keeping the calm between the cattlemen and the farmers. We had to take care of the new towns that we're building. protecting the houses of ill repute, protecting the local civilian. The most important part of our job was to find paths to the west, because all the Europeans were coming in and they found all this rich land out west. So we had to find water, we had paths to go west, and how to prepare for dealing with this wilderness. At the time, we had no roads, no lights. This was all barren land manned by the Native Americans. 1867, I can't remember the soldier's name, but he was in charge of taking 2 civilians out on a hunting trip. And when they went out, they were attacked by a band of 70 Cheyenne Indians. Well, the 2 hunters, they went right out and they got knocked off right away. This one soldier fought off these 70 Indians, Native Americans, excuse me, with 1 revolver and 17 rounds. And he fought them off until help came. And he did this hiding behind his horse and in a railroad underpass. They say that he was shot in the shoulder. He was speared at least 11 times, but he survived. The Cheyenne Indians said he fought like a buffalo, a wounded buffalo, would not quit. And this is how we got the name to the Cheyenne Indian, the Buffalo Soldier. Now, as time goes on, from 1866 to 1944, being a segregated soldiers, anybody who served from 1866 to 1944 is considered a Buffalo Soldier. Now, we're out west. We're trying to man our post. We were known for giving parades. We were always sharp, and we gave parades. The white officers would want to come and just watch us make our horses dance. And the way we dress today, the same way in the 1800s, we were clean. I mean, we were tight by the way we dress. But it wasn't that easy, though. Fort Still, this was an all-black post with white officers, which we endured the racism and given all the dirty jobs. But again, we endured. We found the water. We found the paths west. We protected the trail of the people going west and the wagon trains. But it's sad that we wasn't taught this in school. I know the only thing I remember in school was a soldier. I didn't even know he was a soldier. I just saw a guy with a buffalo coat on. That's the only thing that I remember. But we want to share what contributions the black man did for the United States Army and the Navy. A lot of people don't know that we served in the Navy back in the 1800s. Now you have to remember, here we are, we have to go deal with the Indian Retrieval Act. This was to get all Native Americans east of the Mississippi to go out west. I heard you all heard of Trail of Tears. This was one of the moves to get all Native Americans on reservations. How ironic, here we are, stolen from our land, put on plantations, and now just to become a accepted human being for $13 a month and 2 days off, we were sent out west to put these Native Americans on reservations. Now, at the same time, 1866, on the East Coast, we were still being hung. We're still enslaved in some manner. But again, All we wanted was to be recognized as a man. And we did whatever we had to do that. The heat, the cold. Can you imagine being out on the prairie for 20, 30 days? A lot of people don't know that you can only survive 3 days without water. And there, sometimes you couldn't find water for 7 days. But we found this. We found the water. We found the paths. We helped everybody, but no recognition back to the Buffalo Soldier. There are several people who I like to recognize. One being Flipper, Henry O. Flipper, who was the first graduate of West Point. I believe that was in 1872, I believe. Now, this gentleman was sent out to Fort Still, and he was supposed to meet up with the 10th Cavalry, but the 10th Cavalry was at a different fort. So they gave him another assignment to work with engineers they had to drain a ditch for the swamp so the soldiers could stay, and he did this, and he became very good at his job. But at the same time, there were, I hate to be not politically correct, but there were white women who wanted to learn how to ride horses. And Henry O. Flipper, being the cavalryman that he was, he showed them how to ride. Well, the white officers didn't take to that. So they gave him a conduct unbecoming of an officer. He was given the job of being in charge of money for the mess. They accused him of stealing. That was thrown out. He was given a dishonorable discharge. Another person, which I like to talk about, is William Cathy. William Cathy joined the army in Missouri. And when she joined the army, she joined with two friends, one a cousin and one a friend, and she got sick with smallpox. Her regiment moved out to New Mexico. And after she got well, she wound up meeting her post in New Mexico, where she got sick again due to the smallpox, the heat, the fatigue. She just couldn't make it. So she went to the dispensary. And that's where they found out that she was a female, the only known female Buffalo Soldier today. She worked at the base as laundry. She was a seamstress, and she lived to a ripe old age after being married and being abused. But here was a woman who marched from Missouri to New Mexico with men and survived. This is one of the things that I feel is why we have one of the strongest armed forces in the world, is because of our soldiers who fought in every war that was in these United States. Because in every war we fought with gallantry. And today we have gallant soldiers, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, but we are one. We're one soldier today. I've given you a few names: Henry O. Flipper, William Cathy. I'm going to have KC give a little information on a modern soldier that wasn't too long ago, which you all may know about. KC?
So I'm going to give you a couple names. One, we heard about Henry O. Flipper, who was the first African-American to graduate from West Point, who invented the Flipper's ditch, which is actually still used in irrigation today. The second graduate from West Point was John Alexander, who is the first African-American professor at Wilberforce College. The third graduate was Charles Young. Charles Young became the first superintendent of the parks. Buffalo Soldiers were actually the first park rangers. And we built the roads out in Yosemite, out in the other parks out in the West, where those roads are still used today. The fourth graduate from West Point is Benjamin O. Davis Jr. Benjamin O. Davis Jr. is actually, he graduated from West Point. His father, Benjamin O. Davis Sr., was the first African-American general in the Army. And he actually taught, he actually was a mentor. I'm sorry, let's try this again. Benjamin O. Davis Sr. was actually mentored by Charles Young at one point. When Benjamin O. Davis Jr. graduated from West Point, he was actually his father's assistant for a while, and then he transferred over to the Air National Guard and actually became a Tuskegee Airman. Now, there are a couple other noteworthy names. There's also Allensworth, who was an escaped slave, who actually spent 2 years in the Navy. He became a minister, and he also became a teacher, and he would go town to town giving sermons and also teaching freedmen how to read. He then joined the Army as a chaplain and spent 20 years as a Buffalo Soldier chaplain. After he retired from the Buffalo Soldiers, he moved out to California, and he and a group of Black investors founded Allensworth Town, which was the first town that was fully funded and run by African Americans. It is actually now a state park in Bakersfield, California. So those are a few names that you can look up and find out the history on those Buffalo Soldiers as well. So now I'm going to turn this back over to Bima.
And in the beginning, I said we were going to talk about the buffalo, the bison. This was the Native Americans' life survival here. They got everything from this animal. Not only did he have the black face, the woolly hair of African American soldiers, this was a gallant animal, and he provided for the Native Americans. The Europeans, with this Indian Removal Act, knew if they destroyed the buffalo, they would kill off the Native Americans. Native Americans would sit around and teach their children, they would call wisdom keepers. The same way our grandparents sat around and told us about history, the same way they taught their children the same way. You know, the Native Americans would say you could see buffaloes from sunrise to sunset until the Europeans came and the train came, because what they would do, they would send these people out on the trains and just give them rifles and just kill the buffalo, because they knew it would affect the lifestyle of the Native American. It's a shame how here we came upon a people that already had this land and was living in peace, to have to fight for their land and lose their land. The same way we were captured and brought here to build the land for the same people that were killing the Native Americans. Sad, but it's true. And it's American history. It's not Black history. It's not Native American history. It's American history. And we just want to give back. This is all we want. We want to teach so that you can go home and ask your parents, ask your grandparents, do they know of anyone who was in the service from before 1944? Because if you were before 1944, you consider Buffalo a soldier. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who do not know. And one of the things we express, we want you to know where you come from. Because if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. And a lot of our young people have no idea the trials and tribulations that not just the Buffalo Soldiers, but anyone who came to this country in 1672, which I'm proud to know that My heritage comes from the first slave ship in Fort Monroe, Virginia, by the Dutch. I'm sad to say that my grandfather was Dutch. My mother would always talk about her father, how he would bring a bag of chicken, 2 chickens and a bag of potatoes. And he would be there in the evening, but he would be gone in the morning. Here, my grandmother had to do what she had to do to survive. And I think there are a lot of stories. If you go back and ask your grandparents, they can give you stories of how they had to survive in the 1800s, the early 1900s, and until today. I think that's about it. Everybody in the audience, when I say buffalo, I want you to say soldier. Buffalo!
Soldier!
Buffalo!
Soldier!
Buffalo!
Soldier!
And
It's all good.
thank you very much for the time.
This question is for George Barry, young blood. Why did you join the Buffalo Soldiers?
Why did I join the Buffalo Soldiers?
Me?
Years ago, I bought a motorcycle and I started riding on the motorcycle scene. And I would go to different events and I would run up on this group of soldiers that called themselves the Buffalo Soldiers. And they always looked sharp. They came in, they were uniformed, everybody was dressed alike. So I started researching on the Buffalo Soldiers. Come to find out that I hadn't learned about it in school, so I started studying up on them. They were soldiers from the Army, which I was from the Army also, so it went hand in hand. And I started researching the National Association of Buffalo Soldiers and Troopers, and I found out that they were an organization that you can join, and you didn't have to be in the service to join, as long as you supported the mission of what they wanted. And their mission statement basically was to educate the world about the Buffalo Soldiers and do charity work and help out. And that's why I joined, because I thought this though was a positive organization.
Some of the places we've supported, the Ronald McDonald House, the St. Barnabas Burn Center. We give many scholarships.
South Jersey Food Bank, which I think also donates here at the Kroc Center as well.
We support the Kroc Center now. Wherever we're needed. If you see these colors, turn around, Kay. If you see these colors, now the bottom rocker may have a different state, but they all have the same mission, to help. If you see a band of us going somewhere, we're going to help somebody. You don't see us cutting in wheelies. We don't do that. But we do ride hard. The same way the Buffalo Soldiers of 1866 rode their horses hard, we ride our iron horses hard. And George and I had the privilege of riding from here to Alabama together and back.
It snowed on them on the way back, by the way.
I had the honor of escorting Casey out to West Virginia as a probie. She was brand new, scared to death.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of her. 9 years ago, she was green as a pool table, and today I'll ride with her anywhere. Another question?
Where have you not ridden to yet that you would like to?
My dream.
I haven't done the West Coast yet. I want to do the West Coast.
Yeah, my dream was to go to the West Coast. Furthest I got was Kansas. Furthest south I got was New Orleans and Vegas. But due to somebody, a driver who wasn't paying attention, cut me off and ended my motorcycle career. So,
For now.
for today.
I would ride from Mount Rushmore too. I would like to do
Yeah, Mount Rushmore.
I rode from sea to shining sea. I rode from East Coast to the West Coast. The only thing I want to do now is ride the four corners of the U.S.
Yeah.
I think my best trip was up to Nova Scotia. We were trying to get to Halifax to see the museum up there. There's a black museum up there, but we didn't give ourselves enough time. As far as I got was to Dartmouth. But every trip that we've been on, we as a club, if one of our members attend a function, our club, our chapter is represented. We've been in rain, we've been in snow. Today we wanted to bring the guys out, but it's a tad bit cold. But if you invite us back when spring comes, we'll bring 2 or 3 chapters out here if you want. We'll line Harrison Avenue. We'll block it up. We've shut down the Edmonds Bridge and
Edmonds Pettus Bridge in Alabama.
we shut it down.
Shut down 95 in Virginia.
Shut down 95 through Virginia.
we shut down highways in Georgia, in Atlanta.
85 in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Shut down 85 in Atlanta. Probably brought about 2,000 fights. Buffalo soldiers.
Yeah, we are really proud of being the largest minority motorcycle club in the world. And we all have the same mindset. There's one club, one patch, one mindset. And our mindset throughout this country is to teach and to help. So if you see these colors and you see a different state underneath the bottom part of the rock we call our rocker, you know, you can ask them, do they know anybody from New Jersey? Because now the Kroc family is family. You're family now. So if you want us back, we can come back. We don't normally charge for our presentations, but if you feed us, we'll be happy. But
I do have one more question.
Mhm.
As we're reflecting on Black history, which is American history,
yes,
what are some principles that we can learn from those that endured so much, hence the Buffalo Soldiers, that we can apply to our lives and our families today?
Never give up.
no. And to love and to help one another. This violence amongst ourselves, these guns, these drugs, this is one of the things that we have to do to just bring ourselves up.
If
You
you
know.
see one, help one.
Yeah.
Just try.
But it's really sad today. I mean, in my time when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, we would have fist fights. You know, we have a squabble over some young lady, but today over who's going to sell the most drugs on this block, who's going to sell the drugs on this block, that has to stop. That has to stop. Right now, the Kroc Center is trying to help people. And I'm sure you have people who come in here that just want to, I can't cuss because we're in the chapel. But this is one of the things that we have to do as a people. We have to learn how to trust each other and help each other.
Trust and help. Thank you, Buffalo Soldiers.
Thank you.